What's up, my fellow dorks? It is the Turtle Dork here again with a new review for you. This week I have for you Wonder Woman, the newest film in the DCEU starring Gal Gadot and Chris Pine. This movie was absolutely fantastic. I mean, it lived up really to all the expectations, and there was a lot of pressure on this movie, especially for this new DC cinematic universe that started with Man of Steel, Batman v Superman, and Suicide Squad. So we've talked about those films enough. Wonder Woman is out, and it's fantastic. So I just kind of want to point out just a couple things that I really enjoyed about this movie. In the beginning, first we got to talk about that new DC logo. That new DC logo looks amazing. We talk about the MCU and how their logo has evolved since their cinematic universe has started in 2008. And every time a Marvel movie comes on, and seeing that logo and seeing like the previous films and stuff like that is pretty cool. DC, I think with the previous films, they've had like a logo, but this time around they did something that's kind of similar in the vein of Marvel, where you get to see a lot of their different characters, their rogues gallery of the Justice League characters and the characters that have really been very iconic in those comics. And it was pretty cool. It was something that I really noticed. That I was like, okay, DC, I see what you're doing. So I thought that was pretty cool. But getting into the actual film, I gotta say, the beginning of this movie was absolutely fantastic. Getting to see Themyscira and the world that they've created with Themyscira. Seeing just all the women, all the different types of women that populate Themyscira, and you get to see a lot of the warriors, a lot of the village people, just some of the regular women that kind of go about their everyday lives. And then you see Diana. She's the only child that lives in Themyscira, and you see that she has this wondrous kind of curiosity just about everything, especially the Amazons who are warriors and who fight, because she wants to fight. She wants to be a warrior. And those scenes with young Diana I thought were really good. So they did a great job of doing some absolutely fantastic world building, and the cinematography and the art direction is absolutely stunning. It's absolutely, I mean, just these lavish vistas that they have. It's a beautiful island, just an absolutely beautiful island. Another thing I definitely wanted to point out was a point in the beginning as well, when Diana's mother, Hippolyta, is telling her the story of how they came to be, almost like this bedtime story. And the way they animate that story, it's really used for exposition, so that we really get a foundation of who these women are, where they come from, how they were created, why they were created. And it was a beautiful story told by Hippolyta to Diana, and the way that they shot that was absolutely gorgeous, with Zeus and Ares, and getting to see why Zeus created man in his own image, and Ares wanted to exploit the corruption of man, and then that brought about the Amazons to really kind of influence men's heart with love and peace. And it was really done really well. And then also when Steve Trevor, Chris Pine's character, crash lands at Themyscira, and then we get that absolutely fantastic battle sequence with the German World War I soldiers against the Amazons of Themyscira. And that battle sequence on that beach, when you see those women charge the beach on those horses and they jump from that cliff, it's something to literally marvel at. It's just, I can understand why people we get goosebumps during that sequence, because this is really the first time we are seeing these women take on these soldiers, and it's great. It's absolutely fantastic. I loved every moment of it. And then when you see them fighting, and the way Patty Jenkins shoot this with a lot of the slow motion shots, you see how how tactful they are, how vicious and ferocious they are when they fight, but there's a gracefulness to it as well. And I thought that was just beautiful to be able to show both sides of that fighting style, to show the ferocity of it, but to also show the gracefulness of how they move. And she does that beautifully with with these slow motion shots. I thought were done absolutely fantastic. Yeah, and then some other things I really, really liked in this film were Chris Pine. I think the chemistry between Chris Pine and Gal Gadot was absolutely on point for what was needed in this film. I'll get more into Diana and Gal Gadot a little bit later, but there are a lot of scenes between Chris Pine and Gal Gadot, try to get her name right, that really build on their relationship. It brings about a bit of humor to the film as well, but it's never at the sacrifice of the actual narrative of the story. Everything that they do, the chemistry that they have, is all there to build character, which gets me into Diana's character in this film. There is almost like this childlike exuberance, almost there's a bit of naivete about her when she leaves Themyscira and she goes into the real world where she's almost like a fish out of water. And I think that adds to it too, because I think all of that is really building character and building story as well. And it's great to see her like that. When she goes to London and she sees a baby for the first time, or she sees a man and a woman holding hands, and she thinks these are things that she has to do. It really does kind of shed light on our world. When we're given a character like Diana, who we're seeing this movie through her point of view, but she enters into our world, our history that we know of, and it's almost like she's pointing out all of these things that, now looking back, we could probably say we were a little bit shameful of certain things that have gone on in our past. But I think that was an interesting decision by Patty Jenkins, setting this movie in that time and also telling the story in that way, because it not only gives us the character of Diana and following her story, but it also makes us look at ourselves, look at our history in a different way. So I thought that was really, really cool. And there's a lot of scenes that play into that I thought were absolutely fantastic. There's one scene in particular where she walks into this council meeting full of men, of course, and she walks in there and they're looking at her like, what is this woman doing in here? It actually reminded me a little bit of Taraji P. Henson in Hidden Figures when I saw that scene. How they, she would do all this work for them, and then she would be kept out of the room for whatever reason. And you see that here in this movie as well. And there's a book that they have from Dr. Poison, and she's the only one who can translate it. And this, to me, I think kind of encapsulate what the themes are in this movie. And it's probably one of my favorite scenes, outside of some of the action set pieces. There's actually a lot of scenes in this movie, but this was a scene that really, really stood out to me because I think it speaks to what we're dealing with in our world today. And that was the scene where the general was telling Chris Pine's character that we're not sending any more men into occupied Belgium once they learn of this gas that Dr. Poison and Danny Houston's character, Lindendorf, is going to expose to a lot of these innocent people. So the general was telling him, like, no, we're not sending you back in. This is not where we are negotiating a peace treaty. We're not sending people in. It's suicide if you do that. And Diana is looking at him and she calls him out on his BS. It's like, it's like you got women and children that are up there dying, and you're sitting here making these decisions. And where I come from, generals are out there in the trenches. They're out there fighting with the soldiers on the battlefields. Like, you're not a general. And I thought that was literally speaking to what is going on today in this world. And I thought that scene encapsulates so much of what this film was about, what this film is trying to say about mankind. This movie is speaking on so many different levels. It's unreal. It's really good. If you really dig deep into this film, it's speaking on so many different levels. But then let's get to some of these action set pieces. And the one that kind of kicks everything off, and I think is probably the best one in the film, is around the middle of the film, called No Man's Land. So basically, Chris Pine, Gal Gadot, and they meet up with some of his other friends and some of his other troops that you see in that picture that we see from Batman v Superman. So we get to meet those characters that were also in that picture. But nonetheless, we get to this big action sequence, No Man's Land, and this was another powerful scene, very, very powerful scene, because again, as they're traveling through these villages and through these fields, they're seeing wounded soldiers that are missing limbs, their horses that are stuck in the mud, and Diana is seeing these men beat these horses, and she wants to go and help the animals. She wants to help these soldiers. She wants to help these men and women that have been enslaved. And so they're going through no man's land, and Chris Pine tells her, like, look, we are on a mission. It's like we cannot cross. They haven't gained an inch, and they've been there for about a year or so. And it just, again, Diana is no man. So she feels compelled that she needs to help these people, and she's going to do whatever she can to help these people. That's what she went on this mission for. And we get this absolutely fantastic sequence when we get the outfit, the costume reveal, and we've seen it in the trailers, and it's a crowd-pleasing moment. It is really a crowd-pleasing moment. And that leads into all those other big action set pieces that you've seen throughout the trailer, where they're going through the village, and she fights those soldiers in that room, and the close quarters fighting style that she has. Again, just like I said with the battle with Themyscira, the way Patty Jenkins shoots Wonder Woman fighting these soldiers, and the way she uses the slow motion, again, she really is portraying a certain type of gracefulness with the power of her fighting style. And there's something kind of majestic about that. It was an absolutely fantastic scene, beautifully shot as well. Again, I can't speak enough about the cinematography, and just Patty Jenkins. You're going to hear me say her name a lot because she really did an absolutely great job with this. And then we get another little fight scene outside with the lasso of truth. And that was absolutely great. And then you get to see Diana flip over this truck, so you really get to see her strength. When she takes out this tower that has a sniper in there, it's really, really good. Going back to some of the chemistry between her and Steve Trevor, after that big action set piece, we really get another quiet moment. And again, I do have to say the quiet moments in this film stand out just as much as the big action sequences. And the quiet moment when he teaches her how to dance. And I thought that was a really, really sweet scene between the two of them. That was really, really effective. And I think that scene is really what kind of catapults the third act going into that with Ares, and the big reveal with that, and the big action set piece with Ares. It was really, really effective, the way they were able to kind of lead into that, because ultimately at the end, and I don't want to give too many spoilers away, and I don't believe that I've given any spoilers away thus far, so I won't really do any now. But I will say that towards the end of the film, and I think this comes off to be another overall theme of this picture, is the fact that love conquers all. And that is beautifully portrayed with the relationship and the romance between Steve Trevor and Diana Prince. So yeah, one last thing I just gotta say is the importance of this film at this time. For this to be the first female superhero film, big budget female superhero film directed by a woman with a budget of over $100 million. There's a lot to be said about that. And again, what this movie is kind of speaking on and the social relevance that this film has on our world today. I mean, it can't be understated. When you look at something like the Women's March that we had just a few months ago, just everything of how this world has been, in this post-Trump world that we have since the election, the way women have kind of been marginalized and objectified. This movie speaks to a lot of that. And you can definitely see it and feel it even through social media. I mean, this past weekend and all of last week, everything, Wonder Woman has felt like an event film. From the time the embargo lifted early last week and reviews started pouring in, and then once the release came Thursday night and all through the weekend, if you're on Twitter, you see other filmmakers, everybody, other critics, they are just congratulating Patty Jenkins and Gal Gadot. I mean, everybody seems to really be on board with this film. Everybody is loving this movie. Everybody is supporting this film because I think although it is a really, really good, it's a great film. I think a lot of people realize the significance and the importance of what this film means moving forward. I mean, this movie is definitely going to be a cultural touchstone for little girls growing up. Like 20 years from now, they're going to look back and they can say that, okay, this was a movie that there was a hero that I could identify with. And that's something that you can't really sneeze at. You really have to take that into consideration. Take that. It's a really, really big deal. It's a really big deal. It's funny. There was a line that Antiope in the beginning of the film when she's training Diana, that she says to her while she's training her. She was like, "You can't expect the battle to be fair. Never let your guard down. You can't expect the battle to be fair." And I think that is speaking to a lot of what women are facing today. You can't expect it to be fair. But even with that being said, you can still fight for what you believe in. And again, but never lose who you are and realize the influence that you have, not just for the people around you, but for the world in general. It really speaks to a lot of that. And it's funny, the last point I want to make is like, and again, not to get too political on a movie review, but a lot of people would joke about like if women ruled the world, if we had a woman president, which we almost had, but there would be no wars. And it's funny because this movie kind of plays on that. Because if you think about it, in the world of Wonder Woman, during this time, if women did rule the world, there would be no wars. So you can take that as you will. Take that as you will. But this movie is absolutely fantastic, and everybody needs to check this out. Men, women, children, all ages. You'll definitely you'll come away better for it. So with the score, this is definitely an A film. I'm gonna just give it a straight 90 out of 100. Definitely gotta go check this movie out. It's one of the better films this year. and probably one of the most important films so far that we've seen this year. So definitely check this out. So yeah, guys, and check out my other dorks at Mouth Dork, at the Disco Dork, and at Sidewalk Siren. They did a review as well, which I'll post on this channel when that goes up. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to be on that review cast, so I wanted to give you guys my thoughts of Wonder Woman, but definitely check their thoughts out as well. And with that, I'm out.